Hey, Val. I just wanted to say more than the hi we exchanged at the hardware store. I often find it hard to say what's truly on my mind when asked the simple question of, how are you? I know better than to say what's really going on, especially among the nuts, bolts, and light bulbs, but you, I hope, would want to know more than the usual same old, same old. Anyway, half of that is true. The old part. And speaking of getting old, I hear about all these old geezers taking Viagra. Now, why would you want to go and do a thing like that? Wasn't adolescence hard enough? Sitting in class hoping you wouldn't be called up to the blackboard or chalkboard or green board or whiteboard or whatever they call it now. And if you were, holding up a textbook in front of your crotch. It was once said that a young man thought about sex every 7 seconds. Let me tell you, that would have been on a slow day. Everything made you think about sex. Oh. Even if you found yourself on a deserted beach, it would still be on your mind. Wonder what that young seagull over there would look like in a bikini. And one of the best parts of getting old is to feel a release from all that. It's like a get out of jail card. So why would you want to place yourself back in the irons of blue balls with that blue pill? It was good to be freed from the control of that old biological imperative. You were able to think about and do other things. Maybe even read a book instead of browsing through Playboys. It's a real sense of liberation, let me tell you. Freedom, release, peace. It was so great to feel good without always being on the prowl, the hunt, the search, looking for a woman to talk to hit on, to take home, to get lucky. Always looking for someone to get you through the night. And tell me, why does sex have to be at the top of it? Even an innocent Google question. Really, I only wanted to know what the best chocolate bar was. Know what I mean? I had nothing kinky in mind whatsoever. And when it comes to the internet, it seems every time I turn around, there's a new password that I need to use. Hey, I pick a new password just to keep things going, But no. I'm supposed to remember that crazy mixed up jumble of letters, numbers, and symbols from that moment on. 24 SQ thingamabob carrot top Sasquatch exclamation point hashtag. Damnation, it's worse than finals week in college. Back in college, you just had to remember that stuff only once to pass the test. You're not going to be boarding a bus years later and be asked who the 27th president was. You're not going to be going to a party and someone will say to you, if you are innocent until proven guilty, why are you arrested and sent to jail? Or my all-time favorite, that old timeless question, if a man speaks in a forest, and no woman is around to hear him, is he still wrong? And speaking of women, why at my age am I still supposed to have a girlfriend? Or if that's too frivolous sounding, a mate, or dare I even utter it, a wife. People calling me left and right, wanting to set me up. Set me up is right for failure. Now, in addition to passwords, I'd have all these other things to remember. Things that have nothing to do with me. Things like the names of other people's children and parents, their birthdays, anniversaries, assorted other factoids and obligations. Or perhaps it's just the pressure not to forget. Who knew getting old was going to be like this? I thought it was just going to be like forgetting my keys or leaving my hat on every hat rack or maybe walking home after I forgot that I'd driven the car. Are you sorry now that you asked me a simple, "How are you?" back at the hardware store? After this rundown, you probably think I am pretty run down at the end of my tether beyond the pale. Well, okay. I'm okay as long as I don't inhale. The long and the short of it is there's no business like the getting old business. There's nothing like it before or after. The thing that gets me the most is there's no preparation for it. It reminds me of when I first launched into parenthood. There I am doing the most profound thing in the world, and I haven't a clue what to do. And let me tell you, it didn't get much easier as time went by. I just covered it up better. Like much else in life, from beginning to end, making it up as I go along. And for sure, it's the same thing getting old, too. I almost said getting laid, but as I mentioned before, that's another subject. You better believe it. I'll either go back to that or not, just as in life itself. To tell the truth, it's about 50-50 what happens. The whole thing is that this life project is going to end in absolute failure. You can count on it. A train wreck. A 50-car pileup on the freeway. A hostage situation. I know it, you know it. The mouse in the trap knows it too. But what really frosts my buns is how I'm supposed to keep it going until I can't get it up, or eventually can't even get up. Just lie there in my sweaty jams and my swirl of bedclothes and my disheveled robe, fade to black. Give me a break already. So, Val, how's old treating you? Are you on top of it? On the bottom? Just treading water? Hey, if your mind hasn't frosted over with all my balderdash, I'd like to hear your take on this timeless subject of getting old. Ball's in your court.
You ask me how I'm doing. That's kind of hard to say. Today, I'm just fine. But 3 weeks ago, I had a scare with my heart and spent 2 days in the hospital while they ran a bunch of tests. When I'm good, I'm pretty good. But when it all hits the fan like it did that time, well, I begin to wonder if I'm going to finish the day before the day finishes me. This age thing just seemed to come along too damn fast. 1 minute, you're busy working, raising a family, got your mind on 1,000 different things, and the next minute, the kids have grown up and moved away, and you're too tired to be busy. Nobody prepares you for that. That's my biggest complaint. Oh, you know it's coming. Everybody gets old. We always knew that. I watched my grandparents get older, more fragile, and eventually pass away. But I never talked to them about it, and they never talked to me about it either. Probably they were just as clueless about what was going on with them as I am now. As far as I know, there never has been a Growing Old for Dummies book. We're just supposed to get it somehow, all by ourselves. Well, a lot of the time, I don't get it. Sometimes I do, or I think I do, a little. For instance, I now know, and I accept it completely, that I'm on a one-way trip off the planet. There are shortcuts, of course, but they're best avoided. The general idea is to stick it out for as long as you can. But beyond that, I really wonder what's coming next after I kick the bucket. But meanwhile, while I'm pondering what's going to happen next, it's the little things. It's the incremental, unavoidable, slow, and insidious deterioration of my whole body that bothers me the most. I mean, I knew, even when I was in my 20s. When I got a little older, not old, just a little older, things wouldn't be as good. My hearing wouldn't be as sharp as before. I'd probably need glasses eventually. Probably my hair would thin out and turn gray. Likely my beard, too. You can see that's happened. I knew I wouldn't be as strong or as agile as before. I accepted also, even then, that I'd probably have a few more aches and pains. Maybe not be as healthy generally. Probably need to take more pills and watch my diet. I knew I might even become less of a man in the bedroom. But of course, that wouldn't happen until much later on, right around near the end. At least that's what I hopefully presumed. I knew I might become too fat, might become too thin, too frail. I might even become a little more forgetful, have some allergies and conditions or diseases. I was able to accurately predict that the cold of winter would bother me a lot more, like it does. I accepted all these things as simply the price of getting old, and after all, I had seen it in others my whole life. Those things were plainly on the table for everybody to see. But the one thing that I never considered, not in my wildest, most depressing dreams, was having a decreased energy level. Never once did I suspect that I'd be going around so damn dragged out, dog-tired all the time. Where did all my energy go since I got old? A bicycle ride now is nothing more than a big sweaty pain in the ass. I've got no wind anymore. I used to go jogging. Now a half-mile walk is like an expedition into Central Africa in the midsummer. Just paddling a canoe for a little while puts me in a faux lather. I'm out of breath after just walking up a couple flights of stairs. Climbing a tree or hiking up a big hill, that's out of the question. All the other measurements and indicators of decline that I had anticipated came through. But not losing the energy of my youth, not tiredness. That was the biggest surprise. And really, I think the biggest disadvantage of growing old. However, on the other hand, when I get over the tiredness issue, getting old has offered some pretty clear advantages over living in my younger years. Ones I hadn't really expected either. For instance, I'm not 1% as shy as I used to be. Now I'll talk to anybody. Meeting new people, strangers, important people, anybody. None of that is a problem at all now compared to my younger days. And if I'm not dressed right for the occasion, well, I really don't give a damn. The latest styles and trends don't mean a thing to me anymore. I'm free from all that peer and social pressure that used to take up so much of my time, waste my time. Now, I can do what I want, think what I want, say what I want, without feeling any great burden to do it the way others want me to do it. Nowadays, I have a lot more time to do what I want, too. I'm retired. But I'm still busy all the time doing the things I want to do. I can go out when I want, come home when I want. I have hobbies and time for them. I don't have to go to work anymore, which is really great. And I don't have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning if I don't want to. I get a check from the government on the first of every month now, where before, when I was working, I had to pay them big bucks every year. Nowadays, people ask me for advice. They listen to my opinions. These things were not always true in the past. I also have a lot more patience now. I've got a bigger view of the world and a little better understanding of people than I used to have. I take the time to stop and smell the roses once in a while, because I know someday I won't be able to. I take a deep breath and exhale. Life is good. Life got a lot easier in many ways now that I'm older. And in many ways, it got a lot better. Did you ever think that just possibly you weren't ever going to die? That somehow you would be the one human being on the entire planet that would be able to avoid what all other mankind before you had experienced? I did that recently. Briefly. Now, that's denial with a capital D, but I've gotten over that. I've got past it. So much so that I recently made out my last will and testament. I have finally graphically faced reality. Life really is a one-way street, and it's a dead-end one. I should be sad about that, but I'm not really. It's probably because I'm not on my deathbed right at this moment. But also, what is the alternative? It's no fun to go around being sad all the time. Besides, I've got a lot of reasons for feeling good. I can still get out in the sunshine. I'm still upright. I'm still mobile. Despite what a lot of people think, I still have my wits about me. Of course, life is good, even if it still is a one-way street. Of course, I'll miss all the people who have gone out of my life already. I should say, I'll miss everybody that I knew who has died. I need to force myself to be more honest about what's going to happen. We're all going to die. That's die. But we always soften that up with words like euphemisms, really, like departed, passed on, going to meet our maker, breathed our last, kicked the bucket, packed it in, gave out, bought the farm. Well, yeah, we all do that, but we all actually die too. I suppose the best we have to look forward to, later on I mean, is meeting up with all those people in the great by and by, wherever that is. Getting old, nobody ever explained that part. It's like I was saying, like getting old, nobody ever explained that part to me very well either. But there's enough information out there to give me some hope yet. Meanwhile, I'm still here. I'm doing pretty good, especially if I can get a little nap in the afternoon and I can stay out of that damned ER.
Hey, Val, Hunter. It's so good to see you guys. I've been meaning to respond to your video messages. Uh, Carol and Eddie have been keeping me tied up about every waking hour with our new practice. I feel for you guys. I don't want to say I know how you feel. You can't know how somebody else feels, but I was in a real similar space about a year ago. I was feeling pretty down and out, feeling out of breath, feeling like I couldn't get up for anything, and I was complaining about it all the time to Carol, and I increased my vitamin D and tried a bunch of even tried those blue pills. Anyway, Carol suggested that I come with her to this Pilates class. She'd been going on about Eddie, her Pilates instructor, and Eddie this, Eddie that. And finally, I decided to go. I'll tell you, Pilates, I thought, what is that? Some old, thing for new age housewives, or I don't know. I had some ideas, but turns out it was really uh, a life changing practice for me. Anyway, um, so I go, the first class, and Eddie has taken a karate belt, to use as a loop to wrap around your foot to do a certain kind of Pilates exercise, and he tied a one-handed bowline, and I was so impressed. I went up to him afterwards and I said, "Where'd you learn to tie that knot? In the Navy or something?" And he starts laughing. Uh, like just chuckling uproariously and keep saying, "In the Navy, yeah, that's right." And anyway, quite enigmatic. Uh, and anyway, I could make a long story a little bit shorter by telling you that eventually I learned that Eddie is a Shibari master. And I don't know if you guys know anything about either Pilates or Shibari, but Shibari is the ancient Japanese art of tying the human body. And it's fascinating. And artistic and performative and really doesn't require you to do much of anything, depending on what role you're playing in the whole thing. But yeah, so at this point, Eddie is, since the pandemic, actually moved all his equipment into our place and is living here with Carol and me. And we have pretty much endless fun all day and all night. They're, hey, you guys, come over and say, Val and Hunter, I'm doing oh, they're not gonna, come on. You can put your robes on. I got everybody matching robes for Christmas, but they'd rather stay naked, I guess. Anyway, I'm kind of feeling like I want to get back to it myself. It's about as much clothing as I've worn in the last 6 months. And for this, the longest time I've put this robe on, I think, since Eddie moved in. I'm not saying you guys should become Shibari practitioners, although you're certainly welcome to come by sometime if we ever get past this thing where everybody's got a social distance. But you might find something that lights a spark. One thing I know for sure, nothing stays the same. Everything changes. Even what maybe seems like a inevitable decline. So, yeah, let's get together as soon as we can. You guys take care of yourselves.
He's really great. 3 grumpy guy. It's like Johnny Mark Denny, very upset, but we laugh.